the Football Pod on Off the Ball in partnership with AIB, proud sponsors of the Football, Hurling and Camogie All-Ireland Club Championships. Hashtag the toughest.
Hello there, and you're very welcome along to episode 20 now of the Football Pod with Paddy Andrews and James O'Donoghue. Fellas, how are we keeping? You're both looking well with your swag new headphones on?
Got my new shoes on and headphones and everything's right. I'll tell you what, I can hear better than I can ever hear anything before.
You look good as well.
You do, you look great. We all look great.
I'm pulling them off. I hope no one actually watches this show today.
Can we get anything that's just a little bit more subtle? Like maybe a tiny bit smaller than these things. Like.
I'll work on it. But I think it's improved the sound a little bit, so we'll see how it goes. James, there's definitely images of you on Sportsfile walking into a match with big Beats, or probably Beats headphones that you've had on. Like, what would you be listening to going into a game?
Oh, what was I listening to? That's a good question. Oh, whatever was relevant at the time. I didn't have a set playlist or anything.
Really?
I wish I did, because the music is powerful, like, isn't it? But I never really got into that scene. I just kind of a distraction just to kind of get the right juices flowing, but it was always just what was in the chart at the time.
Okay.
I had a massive pair of Beats earphones, and they were actually banned then afterwards.
Why?
It was like, because they just look cat. I just remember seeing another team then, and they all had him, and I was like, that looks brutal. And I was after wearing them a few weeks before.
They were their age though, weren't they? It was around that late noughties, early 10s.
Yeah.
Everyone had the old Beats on. Yeah, I remember it. Yeah, people did just get slated. It was like, it's like the soccer lads. And
so the NBA, if it started in the NBA, I think the lads just rocking into the stadium with them on.
Yeah.
A massive pair of headphones and a small little wash bag then, with your moisturizer and
your Mikasa gloves in your wash bag.
Yeah.
Oh my God, Paddy, surely you're a man with a bit of better taste than James O'Donoghue when it comes to music. We didn't get to talk about Bruce Springsteen. I was brought to tears twice in the RDS on Tuesday night. It was that good. It was absolutely
the river. Good. Yeah, what got you?
Not the river. No, it wasn't the river. It was the tributes to his old buddies and the old members of the
Some gig, isn't he? Like,
it's unreal.
Bad on him in the 70s. Like, he could still run around the place. Spotted around Dublin town, having a few pints most of the days as well. Some boyo. But no, I'm similar to Jimmy. I'm not a big music head at all. Some lads swear by it. I without doubt, there were a couple of times I had the stupid Beats headphones on as well. But after that, no, I'd be pretty relaxed the older I got. Like,
Yeah.
I'd rather have a chat.
Yeah.
And even a laugh and a joke before a game than be wired to the moon listening to headbanging stuff.
Yeah.
But particularly even the bus into a game, sure, the throwing's not for a couple of hours after that. Like,
Yeah.
There's no point in leaping off the bus and you have 2 hours to kill before you actually go out onto the pitch. But no, these headphones do bring back catastrophic memories of how shambolic
I'm wearing
it
these
used to look.
uptown now. I'm going to wear these.
Walking to work. Don't talk to me.
None of them.
Oh man.
Oh, look at yesterday we got to sit back and I suppose watch the provincial finals on TV. Paddy, you weren't working this weekend. James, you had to feed up yourselves. What would you rather, I suppose the quieter confines of Croke Park or the vuvuzelas of Clonus ringing around your ears?
Well, I'd say the atmosphere up in Clonus was unbelievable. I'd say it was quality. 28,000 packed in. Whereas if you had that in Croke Park, obviously, look, we're not even going to get into that, but the atmosphere up there was just sensational. I'd say the buzz doing the parade in front of that crowd for the lads playing must have been sensational. No, the vuvuzelas and the air horns, I add them to the rule book. They should be banned.
Oh, no.
Someone made a few quid out of it though, because every young fella in Clonus had one of them.
There was 20,000 air horns, I'd say.
What would you say they were selling them for outside Clonus? Somebody get on to the bar and tell us.
I'd say. They're a factor in Clonus, the big days in Ulster. I always remember those bloody air horns. Yeah.
They're not. They were at there was a few of them tipping around the Munster Championship right this year, but nowhere near the. If some fella next to you had that, the next thing you weren't expecting it, and he blew the air horn into your ear.
You'd have the beats on fairly sharpish.
What you think, lads? Because we got another penalty shootout. You know my stance on it. I loved them. Thank God. You know I never played in one, but the drama of it. Was it just me, or did it take about half an hour to actually complete the penalties?
Poor Comiskey from
Yeah.
Armagh had about a 10-minute wait because McGuigan would come back to McGuigan.
I thought McGuigan was actually doing a celebration when he scored it. I was like, go on, doing like a moonwalk or something. But he's actually, his leg just nearly fell off.
Yeah.
Stretcher on.
I think it was Kieran Whelan on the Sunday game made the point. Would you have wanted to see I know there's no time, but if you've seen a replay there, another full house in Clonus, and that spectacle again, I wouldn't have minded seeing that as well. The Penos, lads.
The
Penos are better. Kieran McGeaney probably doesn't think this. That's 2-0 for 2 for them and 2 massive games. But the drama, lads. Oh, and some of the strikes. On Lynch.
Lynch's saves. Full stretch.
Incredible saves. It was a slow burner, though, wasn't it? We were on the WhatsApp. It was
a tentative start.
First half, but the quality just ramped up with the intensity. The last kind of 20 minutes at extra time as well. It was a cliffhanger.
The tension
swung. Yeah, it looked like Armagh done it when they went 2 up in extra time. But I tell you what, I think Conor Glass mentioned it after. We're waxing lyrical about David Clifford and Conor O'Callaghan for years in this. That performance from Shane McGuigan yesterday, the game in the Met. We know he's got quality, but yesterday was different. It was just like
leadership.
Leadership. The long range free he gets in extra time. I know there's a bit of a breeze behind the butt.
And he buys his steps, rightly so. He bought a couple of yards, but what a
Toner as well. Toner takes those frees. He gets about
Toner over carries the ball on the free.
It's unbelievable. I can't believe someone hasn't pulled them on this. I remember we were up in Healy Park watching them in the semi-final against Monaghan, and honestly I was like, how is the Monaghan crowd not gone mad? He takes about 30 steps before he kicks the free. He takes every free.
He's improved though. His frees have improved.
No matter where it's from, he shoots from inside the D.
Yeah,
he just runs to the D on his free and he kicks it over. But
just on McGuigan, Cara O'Kane from the Irish News has put out a thread on Twitter today at lunchtime, and it was where Derry rescued it and Shane McGuigan's part. So it's 5 short videos. And they start when Rafferty kicks Armagh 2 up in extra time in the last 5 minutes of the game. And 30 seconds later, Rogers is coming down, going down a blind alley. McGuigan shows outside him, demands it, clips it over, back to a point within 30 seconds. Next kick out, Derry win it. McGuigan shows again on the outside, burns James Morgan, wins it free, draw game.
Well, see, that was the thing. The free was 10 yards further out, but Rian O'Neill came in and bundled him, didn't he? And he brought it up.
Yes. Yeah.
That was in terms of game management.
He wins the kick out too, yeah.
In terms of game management, it cost him because McGuigan had a shot at the post, whereas that would have been probably 10 yards back. He wouldn't have been able to shoot it. Because obviously, and I think Canavan said this in the commentary, when you lose a game, and by a point or on penalties or whatever, you're suddenly looking at all the things you can do better. Whereas if you kind of win it, you're not really thinking about all those things. You're just thinking about what we did well.
Yeah.
So I think Armagh can look back at so many things, that small little things that would have got him over the line. And I think there was loads of them to look back on.
If you take Chibi, like Lachlan Murray's hand passed over the bar to put Derry in front in a minute into injury time of extra time, you think that is it. And Derry aren't going to give it up. And Stephen Campbell makes a brilliant run and gets I thought it was a free. It was probably soft. But
he knew what he was doing, but he got a hand on the back.
I think it was a free, but he went for it. And he gets a brilliant score. This was just as the game was kind of kicking into gear in the second half. It was very back and forth. It was very cagey, and he gets a brilliant score cutting off. I think Ethan Rafferty gives it to him. Just a raw pace straight through the middle and clips a brilliant score. And it takes balls to go for that, because if you go full tilt into that Derry defence, you could easily be swarmed. But it's bravery there, and the last play for him to win that free, and Rian O'Neill obviously kicks it over. It was so back and forth. There were so many times in extra time, in the last probably 15 minutes of normal time, we were thinking, Armagh have this, or Derry have this, and it would swing again. So look, it was the provincial championships. Geez, they needed one decent final to come out. We always knew the Ulster Final, whoever was in it, particularly when it was Armagh and Derry qualified, that it was going to be a cliffhanger, and it was. And the penalties, yes, a replay. It could be another brilliant day out, but the drama of penalty kicks is
worth it. All right,
incredible.
What were McGuigan's other 2 incidents then, Tom? So he had the third one was the kick in the free over.
He actually won a free. He actually won a free before that, and then the free you reference is the equaliser, but he wins 2 kickouts. So he actually wins 2 kickouts as well, in that time. or maybe it's one, but have a look at the thread. It's just these little moments in the last 5 minutes. And then he goes and he buries his penalty after Ian O'Neill misses his. No wonder he cramped up towards the end or whatever it was.
It didn't look like a great penalty.
No, I don't remember. Well, did he send the keeper the wrong way? Did he send the
the
wrong way?
Yeah, I don't know. Was he going the other way? He was going to his own left, but he cramped up, so I just took it more central, I think, was it?
Yeah, look, it went in. It doesn't
down
matter.
The middle is an option.
Yeah, it is. No Panenka again. I have to say.
Look, did you see John Bostak? John Bostak putting out the Panenka for Notts County.
Wembley, yeah, different kettle of
they
fish,
they won at least.
At least they got through, yeah. But I have to say, both McFall and Glass's penalties, when they kicked them first, I'm thinking they're after skying them.
Yeah, I thought
they
so too.
both literally clipped the underneath of the crossbar. No chance for Ethan Rafferty, but in terms of drama, I don't think it's going to be the last penalty shootout we're going to see. But for Armagh to lose to Galway last year in the quarters after an incredible game, to lose the Ulster Championship final yesterday as well, and you said it, Jimmy, not just losing yesterday, the group they now go into. Like the winners, whatever about winning the Ulster title, which is an incredible prize in its own right, the winners get a far more serene draw in terms of the groups. You'd fancy Derry to top their group, hands down, whereas Armagh go into the group with Galway and Tyrone. So it's a double whammy for them. Really, really hard one to take. And as you said, I kind of referenced it yesterday, when you lose a game like that, there's so many moments that just swing it. But for Derry, I thought they'd win it beforehand. There was times where I was looking ropey, but McGuig and Conor Glass as well. I thought Rodgers was brilliant in the earlier parts of the game, but the leadership they showed to get Derry over the line, what an incredible victory. Yeah.
Well, look, with Derry, we're going to get into that now. With Derry, we can't not mention the Rory Gallagher situation, which is obviously ongoing at the minute. And legally, as you'll have heard on RT and the BBC over the weekend, this isn't something that can be got into or discussed in any depth. But I'm sure you'll have read his statements, as well as the Facebook post and the interview with his ex-wife, Nicola Gallagher, last Tuesday and yesterday as well. And as we're all aware, on Friday, Rory Gallagher stepped back as the manager of the Derry footballers, and his coach, Kieran Mina, the former Tyrone footballer, took charge of the team for the Ulster Final. Mina said it afterwards, he found it difficult to get messages in, given the noise and the tension and how manic the game was. So I think it's fair to say that this Derry team, they have the work done. It's in the bones. The experiences they've had over the last couple of years, winning Ulster last year and going on and winning it again this year. It's fair to say that they were well drilled and they knew what they had to do. But as we've said already, Armagh are going to be kicking themselves. They had the opportunities. And this is something I put up yesterday. The sliding doors moments. We talk about luck when it comes to management. And the sliding doors moments that have happened in Kieran McGeeney's managerial career, when you look back in the last 12, 15 years, he had the penalty shootout last year with Galway. He had the penalty shootout this year in the Ulster Final. He had that All-Ireland quarter-final against Donegal in 11, settled after extra time. The All-Ireland semi-final in 2010 against Down, Benny Coulter's square ball being the deciding factor in that game. Sometimes luck goes against you, but when on earth is it going to swing in McGeeney's factor? Because Armagh got a lot of stuff right as well. You have to say that the squeeze they got on Derry was good. Paddy, was there things in particular that you thought Armagh had absolutely nailed this time around?
Look, they're not that far away from it, and I think they would still have a massive say in this championship. It's a tough group they're going into, but they won't fear it. And we've said probably the flaw with the new group system is that three teams are going to qualify anyway. So even if Armagh, they have to regroup. You put Galway as the favourites for that particular group. Galway play Tyrone on Saturday, obviously, as the All-Ireland series kicks off. But it was interesting. Like Stephen Campbell, I think, is one of Armagh's best players. They decided to use him off the bench. You can understand why teams are trying to do that. And he did have a massive impact there. The Rafferty thing, like I've said this before, I think he's the best exponent of that fly goalkeeper. But the caveat with that is that you are robbing Peter to play Paul in a way. His goalkeeping skills are probably not of the highest standard. And you see the goal yesterday, it seemed like a lifetime ago. Brendan Rodgers fist the goal into the net in the first half. And you're just thinking, in a game that tight, that was such a massive, massive swing.
It coloured the rest of the game. Armagh were chasing the rest of the time.
Chasing the whole way, but they did. We know they're really, really well conditioned. And to be fair, it looked like Derry were the ones who were kind of cramping towards the end, particularly in extra time as well. So McGeaney and Armagh got a lot right. They probably didn't get as much out of Turbot and Murnan yesterday, who were kind of revelations in the first 3 games of the Ulster Championship. They didn't get a lot of change out of them. They won't be the first guys to go up against that Derry defence.
James, like, does the credit have to go to McAvoy for that? He actually marked the two of them. He swapped with McCaig throughout. He had a superb game. We saw at one stage Owen Lynch getting caught 50 yards from goal, and Chrissy McCaig gets the paw in and Rian O'Neill. There's these massive moments in the Armagh attack. It really only felt like Rian O'Neill caught fire, and Stephen Campbell, when he came in, added a little bit. Yeah. Why didn't it click for the rest of them? Is it the Derry defence, or did the Armagh lads just not?
This is going to sound ridiculous, but if you think about even the kick passing, a long ball, you couldn't look up and pick out a fella in your own jersey with the jersey clash. I honestly think that could have been I know you're going to laugh. That honestly could have been. I remember
was talking about it.
We played. Kerry-Donegal played the All Ireland 14. I swear to God, you could not see 2 lines. You could only see the line ahead of you.
Really?
Clearly, and know for sure that was one of your players, and that was yellow versus green and a bit of yellow. This was orange versus red. Honestly, I was watching, squinting. I can't imagine what it's like when you're playing, sweat in your eyes, sun. That must have been very tough. But I think that might have been a small factor.
Who's that on, James? Is that Ulster Council? Is it? Who needs to make? Because it was ridiculous.
But Derry's home jersey is predominantly white.
Yeah, at club level, it's the referee, isn't it? Like, I don't know what happens at county level. I presume
James
it's the
having to
Ulster
go
Council.
with David Goff here again. Like, he's taking this up for Goff.
Goff is the best in the business. That man's the best in the business.
He had a few controversial decisions.
The fingers with Shane McGuigan.
I was sure he was gone. I thought if Goff has been told by his umpire,
he did him for a pinch, not the fingers.
No, he showed the fingers. I
thought he was doing nipple cripple.
We did that as well. You don't mind, like, look, that could happen. But the fingers, I've had that done to me. That is
really
not nice, because you can easily lash out. You can easily lash out yourself, and you'll be the one to get the red.
Did you get them dislocated? Because it looked like McGuigan had to get them put back in.
No, they weren't dislocated, but it is a sore one. And I agree with Jimmy. You can snap because it's so painful, and you're not expecting it. So. Look, Goff gave the yellow. Like, is it actually in the rule book? Is there a specific rule for that?
He obviously leans a lot on his umpires. He his communication setup. I'm not sure if every referee does it like him. He leans a lot on his umpires, so he trusts exactly what he's told. He was 40 yards away, facing the other way, so he was.
I think it is a red, because it happened to us in a game as well with Alan Fitzgerald playing for Kerry. I think it was McGee did his fingers, and Alan punched him, and they both got red.
Okay.
So for doing the fingers and a punch. But on Armagh, if you think about what they can improve, obviously there was things in the game. But individually, up front, Rian O'Neill got 6 and Grugan got 2. And no other forward came on until Campbell came on and got 2. Like,
but is that a bit on Derry, James? Is that what Derry do to teams?
I know.
Particularly in a tighter field. Derry struggled maybe in Croke Park because it's not as easy to implement that defence. But I think like Turbot and Murnan and Armagh were brilliant. We know they want to kick the ball. Long kick pass inside. I don't think we've seen that at all yesterday, because Derry are just, one, they probably couldn't see their jerseys, but 2, Derry were just so compact in their defence.
I know. But in those big games, those forwards, and we've all been there, and this is from the outside, you have to find a way to just get your paws on one and swing it over. You know, just get one, and you've contributed so much. Then I think they'll learn from that as well. McPartland didn't score, and he was coming up with big plays.
Yeah, he was taking off as well.
Yeah, like, you're thinking, will they play Campbell from the start from now on, because he seems to be such an inspirational player. He's the one man who can create a score, probably from either side, from any distance. He's probably a scorer that they're leaving out of the team for the impact.
Yeah.
I got that. Ross McQuillan as well comes on. He gets a score in extra time as well, and he's got real pace as well. Like, if you're playing against that defence, and we'll talk about Dublin later on. Dublin's performance against Kildare, where they were faced with that challenge, and it was so slow. It was all in front of the blanket defence, and that's fine because you're kind of keeping the ball. I get all that, but to actually really challenge the defence, you need to turn them. You need penetration from somewhere, and if you're not going to get the kick pass, I agree. Turbot and Murnan need to try and work their way into the game somehow. Remember, you, Jimmy, you would have done this in the 2014 final against Donegal, where you might play out the pitch and try and impact the game. You mightn't score as much, but you have to. How do I impact this game? I know what my primary goal is. I want to catch a long kick pass in and clip a beautiful.
It's not going to happen. No.
Some games just don't allow you to do that. Whereas if Armagh weren't going to kick the ball in, well, then they need pace. Rafferty gets 2 scores, Campbell gets 2 scores just by really breaking the line, and it's brave to do it. Ross McQuillan gets one. There's a little bit more space at extra time, but for Armagh, if they face that challenge again, and look how many teams really play that defence really well. Derry are one of them. Tyrone probably don't really do it as well anymore. Galway can do it, so they're challenges they're going to face in that group. It's the kind of gamble. Do we play these guys with real pace from the start and try and run the ball really quickly? Because if you're playing Armagh, if I'm playing them, I know what they want to do. They want to kick the ball long inside to that forward line. Okay, so I'm going to try and set up to stop that. And I think that's where Derry did that really, really well yesterday. I think it was a bit of both that Derry's defence was excellent and their structure, their homework was done. But I do agree, if you're Turbot and Murnan looking there today, going, they just didn't impact the game enough. You've got to make it happen if you can. Yeah. And maybe that bit of inexperience kind of caught them there. But again, it's back to they were so close to winning the game.
Yeah, that's it. And this is why it's good for Armagh, because they're going to look at all these things and have the chance to improve them.
Yeah.
It actually will make them
like
focus
to do it
on
with
these
an
things.
Ulster title, Jimmy.
I know, but in the long run of things, they're still a kick in Armagh. They're still a kick.
You'd have to say, if Oren Lynch doesn't, I don't know how he held off the 2 lads and doesn't let that ball go out for 45 at the end of the game.
Or over carry it.
Like Rian O'Neill, whatever about Rian O'Neill nailing that free out of his hands. Rian O'Neill off the deck from 45 yards is putting that over the bar. Like.
He just chips it over. He can get nearly 70 yards. Like.
But they're clutch
the ball was just sitting on the line, like sitting on the end line. It's like someone just touched that.
It's ridiculous.
For Lynch not to over carry. Look, I still have reservations about him coming out with the ball. There was a couple of times yesterday where it's just like this. I'm not a huge fan.
He has come on leaps and bounds.
He's gotten better at it, Jimmy, but there was 2 or 3 times yesterday as well where it's like, this is not going to end well. Now look, he's the hero in the end with the shot stopping in the shootout, and that was another, I suppose, drawback with Rafferty goal. I know he saves a penalty, but he's not a natural goalkeeper. For everything you get going forward from him, they're not for turning now, or they're not going to change that at this point. Yeah. But
yeah. I feel like he could have looked back and felt like he cancelled out the goal eventually. He kicked 2 points and he played a part in 2 other scores. But I don't think it works like that, does it? It just
no, but his scores were inspirational.
Brilliant.
Yeah.
Scores,
the 2 scores were outstanding.
Yeah.
They're clutch moments, I thought. Like Rian O'Neill with 2 points at the end of first half, even just to keep Armagh in touch, keep tipping over, keep the scoreboard going, and then Rafferty coming up with the big plays. Like they had these big moments in the game, but Derry were Derry. In fairness to them, they made out a great score to go 1 up and then dug it out.
Armagh obviously, and it's easy to look back now, Armagh obviously sets their stall out at the start. They made 2 late changes. James Morgan returning, one of their main man markers.
Yeah. A great addition.
A great addition. Obviously he got booked and he stayed on McGuigan even after he got booked. And they brought in Barry McCambridge as well for Creeley and Stephen Campbell. We saw the impact that Stephen Campbell made off the bench, and that's an easy debate to have. Whether you have Campbell off from the start, one of the most informed players in that Armagh team, or bringing him in for that punch towards the end as a finisher, you might say. Were you surprised they set up in quite a conservative way? Like, I'll be honest, I thought it was a good way to set up facing this Derry side, and you still had 5 quality attackers in Grugan, Murnan, Turbot, Duffy and O'Neill.
No, I definitely wasn't surprised at how they set up. I think that's the way they were always going to set up. But even at the start of the game, I think Derry held the ball for about 2 minutes.
3.5.
Was it 3.5 at the start of the game?
It was 3.5. They got the sideline ball, but it was 3.5 including the sideline. Yeah.
They did that 4 or 5 separate times in the first half. That's the challenge Derry bring. That they will try and control, slow the game down to their tempo, and that's.
And mentally, you do switch off there, Paddy. When you're chasing the ball, you might run over to the cornerback, back over the other side. Then you're going, Jesus, how long is this going to go on for? You do switch off a little bit, and if that happens 4 or 5 times, that's not easy. Like.
No,
but that's the challenge, and I think, and I know what Peter Cannon was saying yesterday. When Brendan Rodgers goes off and Armagh had the extra man, do they kind of regret? Do they not go for it enough? And I'm going, they were 2 points up in extra time. They were controlling the game. It wasn't a case where they're just going to throw caution to the wind at that stage of the game. So I think that's an easy kind of criticism to throw at Armagh, but I thought in extra time they'd done so much right to get into that position, and it's just the brilliance of Conor Glass and McGuigan. And sometimes that just happens when you're playing the absolute top teams. They've got this quality there, but in terms of their overall approach, I think they didn't get a whole pile wrong. Do you know what I mean? I wouldn't be looking at McGeeney and going, "Jeez, he's had a howler there." Definitely not. Yeah. You know, and I agree with James and your point. Yes, they're into a really difficult group now in the All Ireland series. They have 2 weeks till they're out, but I still think there's a massive kick in them. Like,
I think
three
so.
out of
Even if
4
they
are
come
coming through.
third, even if they come third in that group, they'll take beating as a third place team versus the second place team to get into the quarters.
Would you put them ahead of Tyrone?
You could. They could take a scalp off any of those teams.
Yeah.
They could top that group. I mean, if it goes their way, I fancy Galway to win that group, but we know with predictions how hard it is to call some of these games. Like, so you just don't know what's going to happen.
Wouldn't it be so good if it was just 2 teams going through?
Yeah,
like the groups.
The problem with that is we'll end up getting dead rubbers then as well.
No, it's back to
we don't care. We don't care. But dead rubbers are fine because
imagine how much you
still have 1 or 2
Saturday.
games that weekend.
But imagine these games this Saturday if Kerry-Mayo down in Killarney or Galway and Tyrone up in Salthill, knowing that if you're beaten in one of these games, like
you're in serious trouble.
Even if you lose on Saturday, it's like both on go obviously, but even if you lose on Saturday, it's you're still going to get through realistically. But Armagh, look, they'll have a massive say in it, and yes, they'll have loads of lessons, the small little things, the small moments yesterday, but that's not going to make it any softer today. They were 15 years since their last Ulster title, and they were at different stages in that game yesterday. They were nailed on.
It's the closest.
Yeah. But just to give Derry a word, because obviously we've been a lot of Armagh there. Like some of Derry's individual displays, what I thought were outstanding. Like Conor Glass, when they were point down, he was 113-17, and Conor Glass fetches the kick out from Rafferty. Yeah, and that's the play that nearly wins it for them because they get back level from the free. Then McGuigan wins it and gets a free. But like if they lose that kick out, they're probably gone back 2 down and it's game over. Yeah. So it does come back to those massive plays, and Conor Glass always has a huge play in him. I mean, he is outstanding. He's an outstanding operator. Great time. But
isn't that the we touched on it last year that teams will Derry what they would have taken from last year, that experience and confidence in their play. You know, if you look at the Galway All Ireland semi-final last year, when the chips were down, they didn't really perform. They didn't have the answers, and you put them into that unbelievable pressure situation yesterday, and all their Ulster Championship games to date. They look like they've moved up a level. They haven't done anything drastically different in terms of approach or anything like that. The players just seem to have more confidence in themselves. You get standout plays, big moments from the likes of Glass, McGuigan, Christian McKay yesterday. They moved. Yeah, Rogers was brilliant through the first 45, 50 minutes. Albert probably gets a little bit tired, but that's because he's just up and down in the middle of the pitch the whole time. Like, so Derry, they've moved on another level without really reinventing the wheel from what they were doing last season. But that's what that confidence they would have taken from winning the Ulster title last year, from I think beating Dublin and Celtic Park and winning promotion back to Division 1. These are all, we said at the time, steps along the way in the team's development. And yesterday, again, to win a game like that in those circumstances, the confidence they will take going into the All-Ireland series now. And like I said, they've got a softer draw than what Armagh are going into.
In terms of those neutral games, where are the neutral games on? Are they Croke Park based or are they neutral?
Get a line, James. Draw a line from stadium to stadium and find the middle. And
as the crow flies.
As the crow flies. And it'll be like Tullamore will get a couple of games. Portlaoise.
So it is actually a proper neutral venue?
Yeah, neutral, yeah.
What do you mean proper neutral? Proper neutral. What's that supposed to mean?
But as in like Croke Park isn't...
I don't know, there'll probably be a double header in Croke Park, but I'm not sure the Dubs will be there.
Dublin aren't allowed playing Croke until they get to the All-Ireland final, if they do, is it?
Yeah, well,
the Dubs are back, baby.
Let's talk about the Dubs. And like, I have people like... People don't know how Twitter works. Like, 7 minutes into that game, when the Dubs have had 7 turnovers in their first 8 attacks, I said, if Louth can settle here, they'll keep themselves in it. And the amount of after the fact lads coming back to me a day later saying, "Oh, you weren't too sharp with that one, were you?" But let's just start with
you did back Louth for the All Ireland there.
You did. You have a soft spot for Mickey Hart.
When you hear that Brian Howard, Niall Scully, and Jack McCaffrey are starting, you know that Desi Farrell has got his first 15 together. That was the strongest Dublin team, as close to it as we've seen so far. I know Merchant's out. I know Fitzsimons is back yet. I know Dean Rock is coming in off the bench at the minute, and a couple of others. But like, Dublin clicked yesterday in a way that we probably haven't seen them click so far yet this year. Before I come to Paddy, James, did they do enough to please you this week after your questions of them last week?
They did, but they were always going to win that game. I mean, if we call a spade, I think that it was good to get that 15 on the field because they've kept us guessing so much, and we've been like, are all these fellas these top-notch players after going down in value, or why are they on the bench? Like, what's going on? So to get those fellas on, there's no doubt that once their starting 15 is on the field, that they'll be a different animal. I mean, and we were saying split the Dubs in two and split this in two before. Your best 15 is still your best 15. You need to have your best players on the field. No one has 25, 26 top of the range players. You're lucky to have 15. So I think the Dublin need to get their best 15 on the field regularly and leave them there. I think that's going to be the key to them finding form and getting back to actually the bit of chemistry they need.
Yeah, one of the other, bits of secret sauce is the 1990 crew boys, the 1993 boys, Kilkenny, McCaffrey, Mannion, Small and Fenton have never lost a match. They've started together. They're all back together at the weekend. Jack Mack kicked 2 points and seemed to go off. It looked like precautionary sort of thing. He walked off the pitch anyway. So hopefully for Dublin and for football fans, that's not a bad injury, because he seemed to be flying in that game. For the rest of the Dublin side, Sean Bugler was man of the match, Pat. And Fitzmaurice referenced it in commentary, the amount of work that he was doing off the ball, the tackles he was putting in, the running he was doing. He scored 1-3. He was very impressive. What does Bugler bring to the table?
Well, he's real pace and he's a scoring threat from the half forward line. Me and James, we've spoken about this. We've referenced the half forward position has definitely changed from maybe back in the day, but the best ones are always a scoring threat. You can get caught up in doing loads of unseen stuff and all, and that's all important. Working hard and being a link player and all that stuff. But if you've got a scoring threat from the half forward line as well, that is invaluable to a team. And Bugler's only a young fella. He's been around the panel. He's got his talent has never been in question. But no more than what we just said about Derry. Big performances on big days. And the Leinster Final is still, especially if you're a young Dublin player, that's still a big game, even though Dublin won comfortably. So for him to go out, and I thought it was well-deserved man of the match. I thought John Small was excellent as well at different stages in the game as well. But for Dublin, that's a massive plus to have. I thought Howard coming back was imperious. And I was getting worried. I think all Dublin fans go exactly what James is saying. We weren't seeing a lot of him at all. Scully's kind of been in and out. We know his quality, but Howard is a Rolls Royce of a player. So to see him get back in yesterday, played really, really well, I thought was a massive plus. I actually genuinely put my old Kerry hat on here. I didn't think Dublin were that great yesterday. I thought the first 10 minutes, the first maybe 15 minutes, they were very sloppy. They have a couple of balls dropped short. They're still probably not as clinical up front. I know the score was a 5-21. Realistically, and particularly in the second half, they butchered some goal chances as well. Like genuinely, they would be annoyed that they didn't score 8 or 9 goals yesterday.
Dean Rock was raging. You could see that he was.
I don't want to fist it over. He was literally like, I don't even want to fist this over the bar. I'm so raging at how and there was bad options being taken up front in the second half. But I think the first 10 minutes was sloppy. I think the last 5 minutes before half time, Dublin lose 4 kickouts in a row. That will not be accepted. They will look at that most certainly. It wasn't a complete performance at all, despite the margin of victory. But I said it last week. You just wanted to see the best players in the pitch available, and that we did that. And I think I wanted to see even 20 minutes of Dublin just going at it, and we saw that yesterday. That second quarter, or not even the whole quarter, about 10 minutes, where they just annihilate Caliph's kickouts. Poor from Louth to like. You have to change something there. But when a team can do that to an opponent's kick out, it just shows mentally they're sharp. They're switched on. I don't think that was the case against Kildare. I thought there was definitely a lack of intensity in their play and their tackling. But their first half at stages yesterday. And the other positive thing was the impact they got off the bench. Paddy Small coming back, Collie Pascal coming back, real pace, energy off the bench. And they, like, Louth a fit team, but Dublin absolutely steamrolled them in that fourth quarter as well. So there's loads of positives for Dublin as well. I think a tick box is most certainly that I was looking to see, can we get those guys on the pitch? The drawback, they play Roscommon in 2 weeks' time. McCaffrey it didn't look that bad. Like he kicks the score as he's kind of injured, but we see how important he is to Dublin. And do they take? You can't really take risks with that.
No.
You know,
they need him. They need him for a quarter and a semi.
That's what I mean. Like,
they don't need him for the group.
Would we see him against Roscommon in 2 weeks' time? If it's say like I don't know, if it's like a tweak or it's obviously something if he's had to come off, and that's the challenge there. He is integral. He will be integral. I think Con and Mannion probably at moments yesterday they were really good, but I don't think they were at their sharpest either. There was a couple of things you're going, okay, that's not what you'd expect from them as well. But in terms of where Dublin got or where they came from 2 weeks earlier against Kildare, it was completely like a transformation, much better. Their intensity, their work rate, things like Bugler, score and threat. But you want Fitzsimons and Merchant back in that defence if possible. But the plus of getting Howard and Scully and getting lots of minutes there was really good.
No, I think the Kildare are a better team than Louth. Like as much as Dublin's intensity and not attitude, but their kind of commitment to the cause was down a bit against Kildare for some reason. It didn't seem like a do or die game. I think the Kildare are better than Louth, so it was always going to be that game was going to be tougher. But I wouldn't give Galway any points for beating Sligo. I wouldn't give Kerry any credit for beating Clare, and I wouldn't give Dublin any credit for beating Louth. Like those championships are set up for a hammering. So I don't think it gives us any indication. Those 3 provincial finals were a waste of time. The
finals were, but
it was a joke.
Galway got a bit in terms of the earlier rounds. The Roscommon game in Hyde Park, they would have taken a bit from that. But I agree for Kerry and for Dublin through the Leinster Championship. Like I actually think for Dublin, that bad performance against Kildare is actually a really good thing. I said this at the time.
Kicked them on a bit
to get a kick in the arse basically, and you could see that reaction from them. So, like the positives, I would say, take the opposition out of it. Kerry, their cohesiveness up front against Clare, okay, albeit it's against opposition they're always going to beat, but there was a sharpness in Kerry's attacking play. It was like, just show us something that you're back trending towards the form you ran last year. I thought we've seen that from Kerry for periods in that game, so that's a plus for them. They have a massive step up, obviously, to Saturday in Fitzgerald Stadium against Mayo, but that was a positive for them to take. And for Dublin, likewise yesterday, albeit against kind of poor opposition in the end, I thought their impact they got off the bench, but also that 10 or 12 minute period in the first half where they were just, it was like Dublin of old. It was like we spotted a weakness and we are going to absolutely kill you guys on it. And that was like, that's a mental thing that I seen from Dublin yesterday, which was really, really good. The rest of it, like the other 50 minutes there's not a whole point to take.
That 110 without replying the first half was as awesome from Dublin as it was, poor from Louth. Like, and look at that Leinster final, I don't think will define Louth's year. They've had another really positive year in their Mickey Hart. They've got 3 group games now with Kerry, Mayo and Cork, and I think we'll be talking about them a bit over the next couple of weeks.
Yeah.
Before their next game, we might come back to how they can move on from this Dublin game and what they can implement to get a bit better. Mulroy obviously delivered on the score sheet, and they struggled really apart from that.
They have a huge game against Cork. Like that is
massive.
That's their season there. That's their season. They beat Cork. They're probably going to be in the playoff against the second place.
Yeah, one win gets you through.
So,
but isn't that the same with Clare losing the Munster final? They got Donegal coming to Ennis. Like they're okay. There's the marquee games of like the traditionally top teams in the country coming this Saturday, but those games around for Louth and Cork, what a massive game that is.
Huge.
And the same with Clare and Donegal and Ennis. They're evenly matched, aren't they? You would have to say that those teams, and I think they'll be intriguing games in the next couple of weeks.
Donegal, you'd have to say, have a free shot coming into this one. Nobody is giving them a hope.
Is there free shots in this?
I think it is a free shot. I think a lot of people have written off Donegal for 2023 and they're just saying, let's write off 2023. I think that squad are coming into this with a free shot, which is a dangerous thing.
I don't think the players think of it as a free shot.
Do you reckon they're under pressure? It depends on how they've rallied the troops. Like, have they gone in and said, lads, this is Donegal football. Like, we're not throwing away a year. This is huge for all of us. This is our career. We can't just park a year because we had a managerial blip. Do you don't know when this is going to come round again. I say 1 or 2 wins there and their year's transformed. But I think they're down 11 bodies from the 15 that played the Ulster Final last year, if I'm right. Like, in terms of the
But
player
even
turnover
the
has been...
quality of
semi-final,
bodies, Michael Murphy, Paddy McBrearty, Roy McHugh, like three of your best players.
They're like two
they've
each.
ever
Yeah, that's
had,
like 6 players.
Do
Yeah.
you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So there is young quality players in Donegal, but I said it when they lost it down in Uri. It just looks like there's a big rebuild job there. But if you're like, I could not agree with more what you're saying, Jimmy. If you're in that camp as players, you can't just go, oh, well, look, it's a rebuild. We'll come back. We'll come back next year in Division 2 and try and turn it around. They're still, and that's the interesting thing. And I know we're going to touch on this now. The teams that were beaten early in the championship, Mayo being the prime example, we haven't seen them for 5 weeks. You know, what do we see this weekend? And what will we see from teams who've had 3 or 4 weeks off? What have they tweaked? What have they worked on? Players who were in really good form, are they out of form if they haven't played in over a month? Guys might have been injured and now they're back. They've had a training block under their belt. So it's a unique setup when we kick off on Saturday, the All-Ireland series. And for one, what a game to start it in Kildare on Saturday afternoon.
Don't get into it yet, because we'll be coming back to that in a couple of minutes' time. You are listening to episode 20 of the Football Pod with Paddy Andrews and James O'Donoghue. It's brought to you every week by AIB, proud sponsors of the GAA Senior Football Championship. Check out hashtag the toughest for more. We are going to come back after this and we're going to look at Galway, Tyrone, Kerry-Mayo in a bit of depth. We'll also talk about the Tailteann Cup and the comments of one Donal Og after the break. A word, Paddy, before we go into the break. Kildare have won their second All-Ireland Under-20 title in 5 years at the weekend. They pulled away from Sligo. Pulled away from Sligo in the end. Yeah, Sligo were probably missing 2 of their best players, their captain and Dylan Walsh. And Kildare, though, put in a really impressive performance.
It was a savage performance from Kildare. And kind of, you're right. I think Sligo just ran out of gas. What an incredible run they've been on. But I suppose missing a couple of key injuries didn't help their cause. And Kildare, look, they would have been hurting from it was them on the other end of a result like that in last year's All-Ireland final where they were well beaten by a brilliant Tyrone team. So for Brian Flanagan and that Kildare team, a comprehensive win, and they were full value for Sligo. Look, it's the key is get these guys transition into that senior team with Tony McEntee as soon as possible if they can. Losing that game is not the end of the world. Okay, for that group, to feel like what an amazing achievement it would have been to have won an All-Ireland. But we always say it with underage teams, it's about a pathway into the senior team and trying to make them successful. So I'm sure a lot of those Sligo players, we will be seeing them in the coming years. It's important that transition is managed for them. But for Kildare, for Brian Flanagan, back-to-back Leinster titles, comprehensive All-Ireland winners, what a brilliant job he's done. And for Kildare, no different from Sligo. Get these guys into that senior team. Manage that transition. They were the best team this year. There's no two ways about it. I seen them against Dublin, watched it the weekend as well, obviously. Can we get 6-8 of these guys into our senior team to complement what's already there and bring that winning mentality and that winning culture back into Kildare football? Because it was a brilliant victory for them.
Yeah. In both those camps, you'd be hoping that they go in, the coaches and mentors and adults in those camps go in and say, lads, this is the start of the journey. This is not the end. You've not just gone and had a great championship and now you say, right, that's it. I'm a Kildare under 20 forever. I'm a Sligo under 20 forever. They have to go and treat it like the start and go and park that and go on and take that senior team. Both because Kildare actually have some unbelievable under 20 teams in the last couple of years. Go on and take that senior team by the scruff of the neck and off you go. Because that's where the real reward is. You know, the 20s championships are to bring players through. They're not the end of the story for those lads. So I think they should be put under pressure to get straight into the seniors. Yeah,
well said. Wise words. And they obviously got quite a few players from their last under-20 All-Ireland winning campaign. Aaron O'Neill in goals. Just having a quick look here. Masterson would have played. Jimmy Hyland. Tony Archibald would have played senior football. Paddy Woodgate and a couple of others as well. So they've got plenty of a tune out of that team, and they'll be hoping to do the same with this under-20 side. We're going to be back right after these with more football on the Football Pod. All right, you're very welcome back to episode 20 of the Football Pod with Paddy Andrews and James O'Donoghue. If you haven't heard of it, it's a sort of Gaelic football grand national for disappointed also rans. They're the words from the president of the GPA, Donal Og, last week. What is this about? Because, on one hand, we're looking at the Tankins in provincial finals and we're complaining about that. And then we're looking at seeing the Tailteann Cup. I don't know if you saw the scenes afterwards. Carlow turning over Wicklow, getting a massive result, reversing the fixture from earlier in the summer. Westmeath, the scenes last year. There's kids in Westmeath that think their county team won the Sam Maguire last year. There's a bit of excitement and a bit of belief. I don't know what you thought. This really annoyed me last week when I heard that from Donal Og.
I was surprised, I have to say. I thought Donal Og, obviously, there was a big spotlight on him after the Sunday game. His take on things with the GAA Go scenario and the Munster Hurling Championship, I thought most of that was pretty well received, particularly by the hurling community. But I was just surprised, particularly for someone involved in the GPA, to just come out. That's like a cheap shot at the other sport, that the Tailteann Cup doesn't really matter. The Tailteann Cup is needed. We said this from day one, and all the teams, to be fair to their credit, last season and so far this season, have really engaged in it because they know it's needed. And that's the challenge with the football championship, is there are big discrepancies at the highest level. There's a cohort of teams who are just, we see it in the provincial finals, there's clearly a need to have a secondary competition, and comments like that from someone in the GPA, I just whatever about that. I don't like that style of, I want to make my own point by slating someone else and a different sport. I'm just very, very surprised that Donal Og, I wouldn't have expected that from him, I have to say. I know Colin O'Rourke came out actually really well, his response to it. The Tailteann Cup, as we're football fans, supporters, I love hurling as well, but in defence of the Tailteann Cup, it's clearly a competition that's needed. We see even in its first year, it was a massive success, and it's only going to get better. But stuff like that, comments like that from pretty high profile GA people, just surprising that Donal Og go down that road. Just would have expected a lot more from him, I have to say.
James?
It was disappointing, but I don't really care what Donal Og says about football at the same time. He obviously has his own agenda, but his own agenda was go down swinging and take every other sport down with him. He went after rugby. He's gone after football. It just sounds bitter and jealous. Yeah. It's just, it had the wrong tone. He went at it the wrong way. I guarantee if he looked at it now, he'd say, why did I say that? But I don't think anyone in football circles really is going to take any notice of what Donal Og says about our product, because it's at the best it's ever been, probably.
Yeah, I think that's fair. There was 8 games in Tailteann Cup this weekend. And on Saturday, the favourites all won. And I think that's what you're going to see, regardless of what the competition is or the tiers. You're going to have it. You're not going to have 33 teams competing for something here. But the likes of Meath, Cavan, Down, Offaly, they're obviously taking this seriously to try and progress the squads that they have. Down dispatched the Waterford 2-14 to 1-6. Or Murdoch again scoring a really good goal. You can see from the highlights on Saturday night. Cavan bet Laois, they pulled away in the second half. That was quite a close game early on. 2-20 to 1-14. The Limerick Longford game went down to the wire. I don't know if you saw the penalty that Limerick got, where Mickey Quinn did quite similar to what Oran Lynch did and protected the ball in the line with his body, but the referee seemed to deem that he touched it on the ground, or Paddy Collum made a foul on the ground. So as the ball was on the line, on the goal line, he gave a penalty. So Limerick won that game by a goal, and Meath 119 to 11-point winners over Tipperary. I'd have to admit, I was following this game on the radio, and after 10 minutes, it was 3 points to no score to Tipperary, and I was just worried for a minute or two. But
you've lost all faith, Tommy. That's the problem.
I haven't lost faith
in the Royals.
I haven't lost faith. I haven't. And
that was a good win for them, though.
Good win, and you know what?
A needed win for them.
There was a couple of changes that made a big difference. Conor Gray came into midfield. He's a kid. He's a unit. This fella's a monster. Kicked a brilliant point from 20 yards or from 40 yards. They moved Jack Flynn to centre forward, and Ronan Jones come back to the middle third. So they had a presence in the middle. Sean Coffey, who made his debut against Offaly, was arguably man of the match at wing back, a young fella playing there. They had another defensive minded player playing wing forward. and they had a couple of other debutants as well. Aaron Lynch scored 1-3 on his debut. There's been calls for a long time in the county for Aaron Lynch to get
in defence of this,
shot.
Tommy, right? And I know we said it a couple of weeks ago. Made losing to Offaly was a catastrophic result for them in the grand scheme of things. But if they can get a tune out of this Tailteann Cup, I don't think they're going to win it. But the guys, the lads you're mentioning there, young guys winning senior championship matches, like Meath, they have to go back to go forward in a way. Like the reality was, if they got somehow come out of their side draw and get to a Leinster final and they're in the All-Ireland series, would Meath being beaten by 3 teams by 20 points ago, would that have helped them really in the long run? So I'm glad to see that they're going after this Tailteann Cup. They might win it. I don't think they're at that level just yet. But for those young players to win 3 or 4 senior championship games against opponents at their level, not just for me, that's why for so many teams, the Tailteann Cup is a crucial platform for them. Otherwise, what else would they be doing?
Yeah,
the season's finished.
Yeah,
do you know what I mean? Like it's absolutely needed.
Andy McEntee made the same point. Donal Óg's comments were put to him after Antrim had a big win against Leitrim, and it's been a tough time for Leitrim. Obviously, they had the New York defeat, and I think they were hoping to get back to winning ways against Antrim. They're Fermanagh next. Fermanagh drew at Wexford, but McEntee said after the game, "How are you supposed to catch the teams ahead of you if you're knocked out in May or June and they're still playing till August? They're still playing till July or late July. You're just never going to make up the ground if your games end so early. So if teams take it seriously, it's going to go a long way." So Antrim obviously pulled away from Leitrim. They scored 3 goals in the last 15 minutes in that game. They won by 9 points. Fermanagh drew at Wexford, a late draw for Wexford, a big result for Wexford. Offaly bet London. I think they were 1-8 to no score up at one stage. They won that game by 9 points as well. And Carlow kicked the last 6 points of the game. A shock. Probably the shock of the Tailteann Cup this weekend to beat Wicklow 17 points to 113. So that's a big result for Niall Crew's men. So another 8 games this weekend. It's a similar setup to the All-Ireland Round Robin series. There's a lot of matches until we rule teams out. James, let's turn to Killarney this weekend. We're both covering this game for Off the Ball. We haven't seen Also Live and GA go, but Paddy, you guys are going to be at Galway Tyrone, so we'll come to that game in a second. We haven't seen Mayo in 5 weeks. Kevin McStay announced his panel during the week, a 36-strong panel. He's got 3 injury outs: Killian O'Connor, Roy Brickenden, and Brendan Harrison. Everyone else is seemingly good to go, ready to rock. We saw Kerry 2 weeks ago. Would you be looking for anything new from Kerry this week than what we saw against Clare's, or something different you'd be looking for? Clare obviously put 15 points up against them.
I expect, well, from Kerry, I think that they'll be expecting as well Mayo to come out with a savage bounce.
Yeah.
Like Mayo are around the place now and they're watching other teams and they're seeing other teams going well and getting praise, and they're sitting at home chomping at the bit. Chomping at the bit is what Mayo are doing. And they're going to have gone and they're going to have trained like absolute animals for a month. And they're going to come out of the blocks here. If anything else, if their skills are off or whatever, it doesn't matter. They are going to physically come out of the blocks in the first 15 minutes and just go for it in Killarney. I think it's going to be, I can't wait till the ball is thrown in. I think it's going to be a savage game. I think Kerry then are the opposite. Kerry have played two kiss my arse games realistically. I mean, but they've done their training block. They've already done their training block. They've played 2 games. We don't really know where Kerry are, but what it is going to be is a physical, aggressive, leggy start to that game, and that's what's going to be. That's what's going to be the main talking about. I don't think it's going to be that tactical a battle in the first half. I think it's just going to be all in and let's go for it, because I don't think that Mayo have enough played to go at it too tactically, and I don't think that Kerry have enough behind them either.
I think the way Kerry play will actually suit Mayo. That it will be like Kerry will play on the front foot. It'll be nearly man-to-man all over the pitch. There'll be a couple of players trying to cheat off, obviously, in transition, but this will be a frantic game. Mayo are at their best when it's chaos. We've said that so many times. We said it throughout the National League. When it's flat to the mat, they are one of the top teams in the country. The approach that Roscommon, the ambush Roscommon laid out for them with Davy Burke, that will not be a style that Kerry will play. I'd be amazed if they did. And that's the biggest challenge for Mayo, I feel, is when they're faced with that really set, structured defence I said this at the time when they lost to Roscommon, I think of the top teams and the National League champions and one of the contenders for the All-Ireland, they're probably the weakest at breaking that type of challenge down. But I don't think Kerry are going to present that challenge to them on Saturday. So, and I agree with James, your point. If you're a Mayo player, losing that game, to go from week on week on week on a high, win the National League, and then lose in such a flat performance against Roscommon and watch the last 5 weeks as all these championship games are going in, they are going to come out like a train in Fitzgerald Stadium on Saturday. What a game this is going to be. Can't wait for it. Live on GA Go, obviously. Great coverage coming up. I'd love to be there. We're in Salt Hill. So you guys are doing
it's only $59.99 to tune in.
Oh, you gotta cut that out. You talked to Donal Og there, were you? Two for one, 2 matches for night.
But in terms of what Mayo are going to do, I think that from the games that we've seen, Paddy Clifford has run the show. I think that all the top teams kind of know that, and they're going to put someone on Paddy. And it depends if Kerry can still get him enough ball to dictate, because the relationship he has with David, obviously, inside, the relationship he has with every forward, he'll pick them out with passes. I think that matchup is huge for Mayo. And then on the other side, you're looking at Tom Sullivan against Ryan O'Donoghue, which is going to be a huge matchup. And if Tom can look after Ryan and put him on the back foot and get up the field, then that's going to be a huge battle won for Kerry. So they're 2 huge battles, I think, in that game. Whoever Tom is marking, I think it'll be Ryan. And whoever picks up Paddy, if Paddy can get the better of him, I think that puts Kerry in a great place.
Do we expect Jason Foley to go with Aidan O'Shea? That seems like a good match, physically.
Yeah, I think that's probably the only option. They actually changed and they put Dylan Casey in for a spell in the league. Dylan Casey played cornerback actually against Clare in the Ulster Final. Played very well.
That'd be a bit of a mismatch though, physically, no? Casey and O'Shea. I know he's wiry.
I think they changed it for the physicality, to be honest. No, be interesting. I don't know how they're going to.
Well, the only thing about Foley obviously got a nick at the very, very end of the Munster final against Clare. Literally, the final whistle blows. So you're kind of thinking, no more so than we're talking with Jack McCaffrey yesterday. Do any teams take a risk with a guy? Now, it might have just been cramp, but it looked like he might have pulled something. It was a tackle on Keelan Sexton, but I'd love to see that if they were good to go. Can Aidan O'Shea, who's had a brilliant year today for Mayo, can he carry that on? That's Mayo are a bit of an unknown, lads. We're used to seeing them every single week, and it was like they were getting better and better and better. Then there's the speed bump against Roscommon. What Mayo will we see? Who's going to be in top form for them? Because it's been 5 weeks is an age, isn't it, between championship games?
And
I think aerially as well, Mayo need to have addressed that over the break, because they've been cleaned out from kickouts a bit. So if they're doing a press, which they do like doing, and Kerry go along and win primary possession, then that's going to be danger for Mayo. I think they will have addressed it, whatever they're going to do. They have a great midfield in Ruan and O'Connor, but they probably need a bit of help aerially for the presses.
They're great athletically. They're not massive fielders.
Yeah, what I'm looking forward to seeing
Dermot O'Connor and Jack Barry. So
what I'm looking forward to seeing this weekend is Dermot O'Connor against Dermot O'Connor, because I think Dermot O'Connor of Kerry is on the brink of producing some massive performances this summer. I don't think we've seen the best of that fella yet. I think he looks like he is about to unleash it. Himself and Moynihan really set the tone physically, I thought, against Clare. And I think we're going to see
Dermot started out and he was light. He's put a lot of work into his body to transform into like a tackling machine he was against Clare the last day. So I think if he can bring that physicality, he oozes class in attack. The way he goes, the way he covers ground is just so effortless, and he has a couple of points in him. So I think you're right. I hope you're right. I think this could be his time.
Come here, before we get into Galway Tyrone, Glass said it after the match that he has Shane McGuigan in there behind Con and Clifford in the top 2 players in the country. Do you agree with that?
I do.
I thought yesterday was a massive performance from him.
Yeah, on form right now. Yeah, in the country.
Yeah, but if Ryan O'Donoghue goes down and lights it up on Saturday, what do we say there?
Yeah.
or Damien
I think that
Comer or Shane
McGuigan
Walsh.
I think McGuigan is number 2 at the minute, isn't he?
But I think McGuigan is different because you can tell he takes everything on his shoulders. He's like, right, what's the score? Let me do this.
Yeah.
He doesn't wait for the game to come to him. He just attacks the game and drags the team with him. It's so, I don't know, it's just so admirable. I think he's a serious player.
He's developed that, James, hasn't he? Like, isn't that that's what we're saying, that, like, if you look at on the other side for Turbot and Mernon yesterday, that they're not at that stage yet. Like, Turbot has quality.
Yeah,
McGuigan has learned to, like, it's very rare. A young guy doesn't just come into a team and he's a leader. You earn your stripes. Do you know what I mean? And that's why I think Ryan O'Donoghue has those characteristics from Mayo, that he's saying, like, he'll work hard. If Thomas Sullivan's bringing him down the pitch, he'll work hard. He does a shift for the team. Can he go out and put in a big performance? We've seen Comer at different stages. We're waiting on Shane Walsh to light it up. We see Tyrone again on Saturday. Canavan, Dara Canavan, and Darren McCurry. They were incredible for 35 minutes against Monaghan. Then it all goes to shit. Second half, what do we see from them?
That's going to be a cracking game. Joyce was obviously at the Ulster Final. There was a great shot of him in Clonus. I think
Vuvuzela in hand.
Kieran O'Neill could have been close to him as well.
He spent 80 quid on Vuvuzelas.
What are we expecting shadow boxing in these first games, or are teams going to go for it, like?
Not Kerry-Mayo. I don't think there'll be any shadow boxing there. In Galway, Tyrone, I think it'll be a slower start, all right. I think that it'll be a more cagey opening.
Well, wait for Paddy Andrews to sell it. Go on, Paddy.
This game, you can get this for just 75 quid. No, I think these two games, lads, there's been shadow boxing for the last 5 months.
I know.
It's time.
I'm sick of it.
It's time to go and let's show us what you're made of. I think as players, we've played in these games, Jimmy, coming into the summer. You're playing against one of the other top teams. It's the championship. You are ready for road right now. For Galway, like, Galway basically had the Connacht final off. Do you know what I mean? It was as you said, a kiss my arse game. I haven't used that phrase before, but I like that. I'll use that.
You can have it.
I'll use that on Saturday for the coverage. No, I think with the scheduling doesn't allow it. Get the chopper from Kildare back up to Salt Hill, but I still think, similar to Armagh, I think Tyrone have big quality. I think that second half display against Monaghan was just. We talk about a team review on that. That'll be another clearly for Tyrone. But the first half display, they absolutely eviscerated them. They looked, the shape they had up front with Canavan and McCurry, the bit of edge in their play, they should not have lost that game. But I would expect no more sort of Mayo's response to Roscommon. I think what we'll see from Tyrone, I'd expect a big sting from them on Saturday evening. Will it be enough to beat Galway at Salt Hill? I have to tune in to watch.
Very tough game.
James, don't give me a prediction. Tell me what you want to see.
From Tyrone, I want to see the first half again against Monaghan. I want to see what they do with McShane. I want to see, do they leave him out, or are they going to fit him in? Are they going to use him off the bench as an impact? Because he's definitely a trump card that they haven't gotten a tune out of yet. So that's a huge possible addition for them. But I can't wait to see McCurry and Canavan link up again. I think that there's serious scope for improvement, as well as they've delivered already. I think that they're two such clever players. They can be brilliant. And on the Galway side, I want to see Shane Walsh do McGuigan. I want to see him take the game by the scruff of the neck and say, lads, I'm here. Give it to me. Let's go with me. Because otherwise he has it could go the other way for him, whereas he's almost getting a bit of stick in the press and his confidence is getting knocked. I think it's an important game for Shane Walsh to just go and set the tone for himself again and put all questions about his leadership, basically is what it is, to bed. Just have an outstanding game the weekend, show everyone what he's about. I think that'll be important for him for the rest of the year. Okay.
There are 12 football matches this weekend between the Tailteann Cup and the All-Ireland Series. Round 1 of the All-Ireland Series. Clare Donegal at Saturday, Cusack Park in Ennis at 2 o'clock. Kerry-Mayo in Fitzgerald Stadium. Galway Tyrone in Pearse Stadium in Salt Hill. They're both on GA Go. Sligo Kildare is on Sunday in Markievicz Park. In the Tailteann Cup, we have 7 games on Saturday. London Cavan in Ruislip. Carlow Limerick. Longford Wicklow. Wexford Antrim. That'll be a good game. Leitrim Fermanagh will be a cracker as well in Park Sean McDermott. Meath go down to Fairfield to take on Waterford, and Laois face Offaly in a Midlands derby.
Ooh.
On Sunday, Tipperary are playing down in Semple Stadium. It's the opener for the hurling. We're Tip take on Limerick a little later. So that's it, lads. The football is not slowing down. It's going to be a busy couple of weeks. I'm looking forward to catching up with you again next Monday on the Football Pod. Thanks to everybody for tuning in. And James and Paddy, thanks for joining me again.
Thanks,
Have a
Tom.
good week, lads.
Great pod again.
Very good, wasn't it?
Good work, boys.